Hi everyone, my name is Vinod Sanadia. We are pleased that you are taking time out of your busy day to know more about Amazon Lambda. Please feel free to put your questions anytime using the tab at the right side of your screen. We will try to answer as many of your questions as possible at the end of the presentation. We will also send everyone an email with a link to the recording and the presentation slides in a week or two. Please allow me a minute to introduce OpenXcell. OpenXcell Technolabs is a CMI Level 3 and ISO 9000 2008 certified company located in India and USA. We are a team of enthusiastic designers, developers, and managers exceeding the strength of 200. We have a strong hold in mobile app development, web development, e-commerce development, and enterprise systems. We have delivered quality solutions across the globe. The presentation will be carried out by Hemang Dave and Harsh Vinci. Hemang is working as a project manager at OpenXcell. Hemang has 8 plus years of experience in IT industry and has delivered various software solutions globally. Harsh is working as a team lead at OpenXcell. Harsh has 4 plus years of experience in IT industry and presently focused on establishing serverless architecture for various clients of OpenXcell. So now I hand over the mic to Hemang.
Hello people, I'm Hemang Dave. I'm here with my colleague Harsh Vinci to talk about Amazon Lambda. Now we'll be talking about what is AWS Lambda, benefits of Lambda, pricing model, and demo. So to begin with, what is Amazon Lambda? It is an event-driven serverless computing platform provided by Amazon. In this, your code runs in response to every trigger. If you take an example of uploading image in S3 bucket, the moment you upload, it will trigger Lambda function to generate thumbnail for the uploaded image. This way, Lambda enables you to set up links between different services like API Gateway, SNS, IoT, DynamoDB, and Kinesis. Lambda makes it easy to create mobile and IoT backends as well as web applications. Just write the code and Lambda takes care of it. To create Lambda functions, you don't need to learn any new languages. It supports Java, Node.js, C Sharp, and Python. Coming to benefits of Lambda, there are three main benefits of using Lambda. First one, there will be no need for you to manage servers. Normally, if you are building a project in Node.js, you will need to install Node on your server first and then you would have to run your code. But using Lambda, these things will be managed for you automatically. Second benefit of using Lambda is you never pay for the idle server. Currently, we have to pay a fixed cost monthly, quarterly, or yearly to the service provider. On the other hand, Lambda doesn't charge you for the idle time. We'll cover the pricing details later in this webinar. The third important benefit of Lambda is auto-scaling, which Lambda offers. If there are a large amount of requests at any given point of time, it would be managed by Lambda itself. On the other end, if you're using any other hosting environment, you'll have to expand your server manually. Coming to the pricing part, the pricing of Lambda depends on two main factors: memory consumed by Lambda to produce the output and number of times Lambda function is invoked. The first million requests and 4 million GB seconds of computing time per month are free and is also applicable even after initial 12 months free period. Post 1 million, Lambda charges you $0.2 per another million request. Now I shall be handing over the session to Harsh Vinci, who will be presenting a demo on Lambda.
Hello everyone, hope you are doing fine. So let's get started with the demo on AWS Lambda. I will be showing you how to use Lambda as a backend service in your mobile application. For this, I will be using Java language to write Lambda function along with Eclipse IDE and Gradle. You would also need to install AWS plugin for Eclipse. First of all, you need to create a Gradle project. You can name it as you want. I will not be creating one because I have created one for you. After creating the project, we will add dependencies. We will add AWS core library, Jackson for JSON parsing, MyBetis for querying database, and MySQL for connecting to the database. After adding those dependencies, kindly refresh your project so that it gets added. Now after adding those dependencies, we will create a package. You can name a package as you wish and then create a class in it. That class needs to be confirmed with the request handler interface. By this way, Lambda will know where to start the execution. Request handler needs two parameters. What will be the input and output? So as you can see, I have created one stories API, and this will take input as a stories request. This will accept ID and up two parameters, and it will give response as a list of stories. Further, we will need to implement handle request method. So from here, our Lambda starts the execution. First, we have created a data configuration file. In this file, we have connected to the database. For database, you can use AWS RDS or can connect to database hosted on any server. Here, I have chosen the second way, in which we will be connecting to the database -- server. This is my database name. You will enter your database name over here. After that, pass the username and password. That will do. Now coming back to the stories API, we will configure that XML file over here and we'll start a session to connect to the database. After that, we will need to create one interface file. This interface file will have the logic to fetch the data from the server. In this interface file, first we will write query string. This query string will have the logic of what fields it should fetch from the database. We will be initializing our query with the script tag. By using the script tag, we will be able to compute the logic that if a parameter is present or not, and then only then we can add it. This query will be followed by a select annotation. There are four types of annotation you can use: select, insert, update, delete. Since we are fetching the data from the database, we are using select. Now the select annotation is followed up by result. The result will receive the data which are fetched from the server, and those data will be mapped into our model. The model which we used over here is the stories. This is the logic where we map those data coming from server to the stories object. And last, this is the function which will trigger all these events. This function accepts three arguments: language, ID, and up. Now, as you have noticed over here, there are two ways in which we can use variables in this script tag: dollar parenthesis and hash parenthesis. Now, when to use both? When you are modifying any parameters in the query like this. See, this is a column name in my table. If you want to modify, if you want to give a dynamic column name, you will use dollar parenthesis. And if you want to assign in where condition, if you want store is greater than any id, at the point of assignment we will use has parenthesis. So this was the interface part. Now coming back to storage API, after creating that interface, we will add that interface as a mapper so that our session will come to know where it should point. Then after we will create an object for that mapper and we will pass 3 values. By doing so, this will trigger the logic of getting that data from the server. Over here, we will get the data and we process the data as we wish. Then we will close the session and return the data which we got, or return the response to the user. By this way, you can make as many API as you want, as per your wishes, as per your requirement. Now we need to upload this function to the Lambda. This will be done when we click on the project, and from the project we'll choose upload function to AWS Lambda. This will prompt a dialog box saying in which region you want to upload your Lambda. For now, we will be choosing Asia Pacific Singapore. The next step is if you are uploading an existing Lambda or creating a new Lambda. I am going with existing, selecting stories and going to the next. You can write description and select the function execution handler. Give it a role. If you are creating a new Lambda, then there will be no role, so you can create a new one. Now you will want a space for your code to be stored, so you need to give an S3 bucket space. If you are not having a bucket already created, then create a new one. At last, you need to give an approximate MB size. This size corresponds to the approximate number of bytes your function will require to execute. So for now, we are giving it 512 MBs and give request timeout as 15. When you click on finish, it will upload the Lambda into the server. This was the coding part and the uploading part. Now we will switch to Amazon Lambda console. You will need to log in into your Amazon account. After logging it, choose the region where you upload the Lambda. After that, go to the Lambda section. There you will see the uploaded function. Ours was stories. So let's go into it. As you can see, it contains predefined tabs and configurations. This you can configure as per your requirement. Now let's test it to see that our Lambda function is executing properly or not. We will do this by clicking on test button. Yes, it's working correctly. As you can see, it gives the response which we needed. And below that, you will be able to see the duration, the build duration, and the amount of memory it took to get this data from the database. You can see over here, we have assigned 512 MBs, but it used 75 MBs. So that this means that this is the maximum amount of resource utilization we can do. Now we have prepared our service. Now how we can use it? So to use this service, we need to create an endpoint. And to create an endpoint, we will go to API Gateway. You can go to API Gateway from the navigation panel. Coming to API Gateway, we'll create a new API. Give it a name, say test. You can provide description as you want and hit create API. After creating the API, you will need to define resources. So we will create a storage resource. Resource path, you can change it, but let's keep it as it is and create a resource. Now the question comes that how I can access this resource? What will be the method to access this resource? So we'll create a method. We will be creating a post method. So this will tell that we can access the storage resource by a post request. We'll configure over here the Lambda which we want to connect. So we'll choose Lambda. We'll choose the region AP Southeast 1. That's the region name for Singapore. We'll choose the Lambda, that is storage, and click on save. It will ask for a permission. You should grant it. This is the overview, and this shows how your request has been processed. The first step is method request. Over here, it contains authorization, API key. These are one important aspect of API gateway, but let's ignore it for now. If we are expecting some header parameters, then we will insert it over here. We are expecting language, so we'll input language over here. Language is added, and if you are expecting many more, then you can add over here. Now come to the integration request part. This is the main part. Over here it will configure the user input parameter with our function. So let's go to the mapping template, where it will do the mapping of the parameters which user will pass as per our system. We'll click on add mapping template. We'll put application JSON. Now this will give us a space. In this space, we will need to add a mapping script. I have created a mapping script for you. In this mapping script, what we have done is, first of all, we have checked that if user is sending an ID, then we'll assign that ID. And if user is sending up, then we have assigned that up into our system. Over here in header, we have not checked any conditions. The reason is that any request will have some headers. So now let's save it. Now the configuration part is over. We have configured our storage Lambda with the API gateway, And to test it, let's test. Click on test button at the top. We'll choose language as an EN. In the request body, we'll pass ID equal to 0. Then we'll press test to see if it's working correctly or not. Yes, it's working correctly. As you can see, if we pass any other parameters in language, then it differs. Now we have configured our Lambda with API gateway correctly. And now we will create an endpoint for this Lambda. When we deploy it, it creates an endpoint. We will say production. You can write a description as you want. By deploying it, it gives us a URL. This URL is now pointing to the Lambda which we have configured in it. And to test that this is working correctly, we will check in Postman. We will copy this URL and paste it and do a post request. Now we will assign header parameters. First it will be content type, that will be application JSON. Application JSON. Then we are expecting language, so we'll pass language as the EN. Now in the body we will pass JSON, and again we will pass ID equal to 0 and click on send. Yes, as you can see, it gives us a response, a correct one. That means our API is now ready and to be used anywhere we want. By this way, you can create as many API as you want and create its endpoints. And these endpoints will be able to use across the platform. And this is how you will create the rest of the APIs for your project. So this by using this AWS Lambda, what's the benefit of it? AWS Lambda alongside API gateway will allow you to concentrate more on your business logic, because this will manage all the execution part and it will also manage the scaling part. It provides a good security feature. As you can see over here, authorization and API key, these two are a very good security feature. By this way, by configuring these two, you will be able to protect your API from others. So this was it for the API AWS Lambda tutorial. Now I will give it to Vinod further.
Thank you, Harsh, for the detailed demonstration. Now we can quickly have a question and answer session. So please write any if you have any questions. Please write on the on the chat box which you have on your right side. We will surely share a link of the video and the presentation to you within a week. So I think we are not getting much questions. So I would like to thank Harsh, Hemang, and all of the participants for this webinar. I think it would have been very informative for to see that how Amazon Lambda works. So thank you all for your time. Thanks. Now I'm going to end the meeting. Thank you.